Hey everybody, it is Thursday, 1 o'clock Eastern Standard Time, and you know it is time for Frame Your Day with Efia. I want to welcome everybody that's coming in on Facebook, on Instagram, and if you're listening to the podcast, welcome to Frame Your Day. I'm just taking a quick look to make sure everything is sounding right, and we got this going, and then we are going to go to town today. Today's topic is Come On Now. And I know you're probably wondering, what is she going to talk about with Come On Now? So we're going to start like we normally do with the daily word. If you've got your book, go and grab it, and let's start this. So I am reading from the Daily Word, Frame Your Day for Victory in 60 Seconds. Yes, this is the book that I wrote. The book that will give you spiritual insight and food and empower you to win. So let's go for it here. On page 160, if you have your book, it's day 152. And the daily word today says, today as you go forward, know that you don't have to rush to complete your vision. How you get through is more important than getting through. The vision you have is for an appointed time, and it cannot and will not manifest before its time. So stay focused because you're almost there. That is from today, the daily word, Frame Your Day for Victory in 60 seconds. If you have your copy, it's day 152. If you're going according to the Julian calendar. However, if you've gotten it and you started it, keep going. You can use it at any day. Any day, whenever you get it is your day one. So, all right, let's do this. So today's topic is Come On Now. Diana, thank you so much for joining today. Let's talk about Come On Now. We know that obedience is better than sacrifice. So the question I have for you today is, do you move when God says move, or do you sit and try to find a reason? Try to find reasons, where it's uncomfortable or if it seems impossible. Hey, Trinae, thanks for coming in. When your boss asks you to do something, you do it pretty quickly without trying to find a reason as to why you can't do it. Could it simply be because your boss pays you? But when God asks you to do something, a lot of times people are looking for reasons as to why they can't do it. I'm going to let you know now. If you have a pen and paper next to you, grab it, because I have a bunch of scriptures that I'm going to give you for reference, and then there's some that you can go back and look at for yourself as well. So first scripture is in Exodus 3 verses 10 through 12, and it says, therefore come now, I will send you to Pharaoh, and then bring my people, the children of Israel, out of Egypt. But Moses said to God, who am I that I should go to Pharaoh, and that I should bring the children of Israel out of Egypt? And God said, certainly I will be with you, and this shall be the sign to you that it is I have sent you. When you have brought the people out of Egypt, you shall serve and worship God at this mountain. When God asks you to go somewhere, God isn't asking you to go by yourself. He's telling you, go, I will be with you. Now, granted, in Hebrews, I believe it is, God says, I will never leave you, I will not abandon you. So wherever God is sending you, you know that he is with you. Then in Exodus 4, 10 to 12, if you write that one down, then Moses turns around and says to God, granted, what God has asked Moses to do seems impossible, frightening, and the whole nine, but he says to God, Lord, please, Lord, I am not a man of words, eloquent, fluent, neither before nor since have you spoken your servant, for I am slow to speech and tongue. And the Lord said to him, who has made man's mouth? Or who makes the mute or the deaf or the seeing or the blind? Is it not I, the Lord? Now then, he says, now then go, and I will be with your mouth and will teach you what to say. You cannot give God an excuse as to why you can't do something. Because God will come back and say to you, am I not the one who created you? Am I not the one that gave you the assignment? Am I not the one that planted? Am I not the one that created the heavens and the earth? Am I not the one? You cannot come up with an excuse. You cannot come up with an excuse for God. Can you guys hear me on Facebook? I think Instagram's telling me they can't hear me. So hold on one sec. Let me see if I can get this going up. Can you hear it on Instagram now? I think I might have, I don't know, I may have had, I don't know what I did. I'm still trying to figure out technology. Okay. I know my screen is moving. All kind of stuff is happening here. What did I just do? Am I still on? I don't even know if I'm even on Instagram anymore. Let me see. I think I'm still there. Okay. Can you hear? Okay. Can you hear on Instagram now? Let me know. Okay, we're going to keep going. Sorry. When you ask God, God is not going to tell you to do something where he won't send you. Now, can you be trusted to fulfill the assignment when you are asked by God? When God asks you to do something, can he trust you to pick up yourself and go without being hesitant, without wondering, why can I not do it? All these things. God is asking you, can you do this? Can you do it? Are you willing to do it? I think Instagram can hear me now. I know what happened. So, delayed obedience is still disobedience. You can sit down. If God asks you to go now and you then decide, let me think about it. I'm going to get up and go in 10 minutes. Disobedience, delayed obedience is disobedience. You must move at the very moment God has asked you to move, because you have no idea what is on the other end of what God has asked you to do. You don't know if there is a deliverance for somebody. You don't know if there is a breakthrough for you. You don't know what goes on at the other end, but you got to move when God asks you to move. Can you have faith to follow instructions even if you don't know where you're going? If you have no idea where that step is going to take you, but can you take that step? Genesis 12, 1-4. Let's go there. Now in Haran, the Lord said to Abram, go away from your country and from your relatives and your father's house to the land which I will show you, and I will make you a great nation, and I will bless you abundantly and make your name great, exalted, distinguished, and you shall be a blessing, a source of great good to others. And I will bless those who bless you, and I will curse those who curse you. And where am I? And in you all the families and nations of the earth will be blessed. So Abram departed in faithful obedience as the Lord had directed him, and Lot his nephew left with him. Abram was 75 years old when he got up and left Haran. Come on now. He was 75 years old. Hear this. 75. Abram was already set in his ways of how he did things. He got up and he left in faithful obedience to when God asked him to move. He didn't sit there and question and say, well, I don't really know where you're taking me, and I don't know who's there, and I don't know, and I don't. Abram didn't have all of those questions. He didn't have all of the excuses as to why he couldn't do something. Thank you so much for all those emojis or emoticons coming through. Now, the other question is, not even a question, another example. If you go to Genesis 22, we need to see how Abram, now being Abraham, jumps up. When God asks him, God tests Abraham here with the greatest possession he has ever had. And Genesis 22 says, now after these things, God tested the faith and commitment of Abraham. And he said to him, Abraham, and he answered, here I am. God said, take now your son. Not take tomorrow, not take in 30 minutes. Take now. That's right. Obedience is better than sacrifice. Take now your son, your only son of promise, who you love, Isaac, and go to the region of Moriah and offer him as a burnt offering on one of the mountains which I shall tell you. Now, this is Abraham gets up the next morning. So hold on, let me do this. Verse 3 says, "So Abraham got up early in the morning, saddled his donkey, took 2 of his young men with him and his son Isaac, and he split the wood for the burnt offering, and he got up and went to the place God told him." He didn't sit there and debate. Now, granted, God asked him to give up the greatest thing he loved, the thing he waited all his life for, the promise that God gave him. And God is now asking him, can you give that up? Come on now. He said, come on now. I want you to follow instructions. Come on now. Now faith. Not come on tomorrow. And not tomorrow faith. Now. We're looking at, can you move when God is asking you to move? Can you move? Can you give life to your words through actions and give God something to work with? Can you do that? You keep asking God. And I know I posted this, I think, last week, where it said, stop asking God to guide your steps when you won't move your feet. You are asking God to do stuff, but you won't move and give him anything to work with. You have to move. You have to put action to what it is you're looking for. You got to do it now. The only time you stop and you wait is when you're waiting on God to give you the next instruction on what to do. But you do exactly what he's told you to do. So an example of you got to move, Jesus told the 10 lepers in Luke 6:17 and 14. After they came to him, he says to them, verse 14, when he saw them, he said to them, go and show yourselves to the priests. And as they went, they were miraculously healed and they were made clean. If they did not go when Jesus said go, they wouldn't have got their healing. Miracles and the miraculous happen when you move. You got to be willing to move. If you won't move, you're not giving any leeway to God and the heavens to do anything for you. You have to move. I love you too, bro. I see you. And I mean, I just read from the book of Luke, and my brother Luke is on, so I have to shout out my brother. Now, faith without works is dead. We hear this all the time, and we know this is to be true. If you don't move, you can't receive. You got to keep action. This journey is an action journey. It's a moving journey. I'll give you another example where healing was concerned. Here is Naaman, and I'm going to call him my friend Naaman. Naaman, has leprosy. And in the book of 2 Kings, chapter 5, you can write that down, chapter 5, verses 10 and 11. Naaman has leprosy. The king sends note to Elisha saying he's coming. Elisha says, send him, I'll take care of him. So now here's in verse 10, Elisha sent a messenger to him. So Naaman comes to Elisha. But Elisha says, listen, I'm going to send a messenger out, and I'm going to tell the messenger, tell Naaman this. So he sends the messenger saying, go and wash in the Jordan 7 times, and your flesh will be restored to you, and you will be clean. But Naaman was furious. Hold on, we're going to break this one down. Naaman was furious and went away and said, indeed, I thought he would at least come out to see me and stand and call on the name of the Lord his God. And he would wave his hand over the place where the leprosy was and heal the leper. Hold on, look here. Naaman didn't want to go and dip. A simple instruction, go dip in the Jordan 7 times. No, you see, because what Naaman wanted this big hoopla. He wanted bells and whistles, and he wanted all this big thing to take place. He just wanted this extravagant thing. But the simple instruction was sending him to go dip in the Jordan. The problem was, Naaman was too caught up in himself, too caught up in his ego, too caught up in his position. Are you caught up in your position and in your ego? Is this telling you, no, I can't do the simple things. I need the extravagant. I need the lavish. At the end of the day, nobody cares about your lavish. And I know it's going to sound real kind of crude and harsh. Nobody cares. The only person that cares is you. And you're too busy looking at, you got to stop. Let me tell you something. Naaman had to get checked by a servant. One of his servants had to check him and say, hold on, in verse 13, the servant checks him and says, My father, if the prophet had told you to do some great thing, would you not have done it? Would you not have done the big, hard thing that looks like you got to do, stand on your head, spin around in circles, jump, I don't know, all kind of craziness. But the simple thing that he was asked was go dip in the Jordan. He went and he dipped in the Jordan 7 times and he was healed. And he came out like nothing had ever happened to him. My thing to you today is don't disregard simple instructions. Because it's in the simple things, the ones that sometimes seem that it's way too easy, that's where you might get your biggest breakthrough. So if God is telling you, take 2 steps and then turn, you never know. You don't know what's going to happen. He might be putting you in a position because something's about to fall out the sky for you, like in your head. I don't know. I know I'm being stupid with that, but you don't know. Don't disregard the simple. If you don't move, God can't move either. He moves through willing vessels. And are you willing to be that vessel? Now, God can't do anything in the earth unless he uses a vessel, because if he was to do it himself, he would be illegal in the earth realm. He created this realm where you have to move with a body. Okay? You have to move with a body. And this is why Jesus had to come through a woman in order to fulfill purpose. And this is why Satan cannot do anything to you physically except bring suggestion and try to affect you in the mind. He play mind games with you, because it is in your mind that you will come into alignment or into agreement, and then you become the vessel being used by the enemy. I mean, that's not where I was going today with this, but understand, you need a body in this earth in order to do what God needs to be done. Are you willing to be that usable vessel? Now, when God is asking you to go somewhere or telling you to come on, will you go? Can you go through the experience even though you know there's hardships on the other end of it? Can you do that? Exodus 5:22 and 23. God sends Moses to Pharaoh. And he says, let my people go. Moses knew what was on the other end of that, but he was still willing to go. It wasn't comfortable and it wasn't easy, and I'm sure he had fear. Although God says, I'm with you, you still may question it. But you have to know that if God is sending you somewhere, he is with you and he's not going to let you go through it by yourself. Can you keep going back to the place that God sends you over and over and over if you have to, in order to get the assignment fulfilled? How many times did Moses have to go back to Pharaoh before he got the yes? He got so many no's before he got the yes. But Moses had to go. It was the process. He had to go through the process. And I'm sure he didn't want to, but he went through the process. Now, what about when you're asked to go to your enemy or somebody you don't like? Do you sit there and say, you know what, Lord, look here. Now, I'll be honest. If anyone wants to be honest with me, you can put your hand up. There are times God has asked me to do something for somebody I didn't particularly care for. And I tried to find the reasons as to why, you know what, Lord, we don't gel, we don't this, we don't that. But God he doesn't care, because you don't know what's at the other end of that. And here's a very, very good example. Ananias was asked to do something that most of us would have said no to. Write down Acts chapter 9, verses 11 through 17, but I'm only going to touch on a couple. You can go back and read those 4 or 5 scriptures. In verse 11, the Lord said unto him, arise and go into a street called Straight, and go and inquire in the house of Judas for one called Saul of Tarsus. For behold, he prays. At this time, and I'm sure those of you who know, at this time, Paul had been on his way to Damascus. He had an encounter with Christ, but nobody else knew that this is what Paul had gone through. Nobody. So Paul is known as the terrorist, the terrorizer. He's coming and he's killing. He's getting rid of the Christians and those who are believing in Christ. But God comes to a man named Ananias and says, I want you to go to this house. Ananias says in verse 13, Lord, I have heard by many of the evil that this man has done. Obviously, we know who Saul was. We're dealing with Saul. He gets up in 15, but the Lord said unto him, go your way, for he is a chosen vessel unto me. God is sending us to people that we don't like, but God has chosen them to use them to do great things in the earth too. There was once a time that we weren't looked on, as who we are now. I'm sure there were many who didn't like us, and there may be people who had to come and minister to us who did not like us, but they still obeyed the call of God. He said, he's a chosen vessel unto me to bear my name before the Gentiles and the kings and the children of Israel. And then in verse 17, this is where it is. Ananias went his way, and he entered into the house, putting his hands on him, and said, Brother Saul, the Lord, even Jesus, that appeared unto you in the way you came, has sent me, that you might receive your sight and be filled with the Holy Ghost. You getting up and going can bring someone's deliverance. It will bring forth somebody's deliverance. Understand, we have to let go of self. We have to let go of our pride. We have to be willing vessels to be used by God. There's somebody in your workplace that you may not like. There is somebody that you see on the transit, whatever. But if God is calling you to go to them, can you get up and go? Do not let fear hold you back from fulfilling your purpose. Fear ain't even real. Let's just be real with that. So here are some other scriptures. I'm not going to go through them. I'll give you the scriptures. You can go and check them out yourself. Joshua 1 verses 2 to 3. That's when Moses has died, and God has now told him, get up and go across, go into the promised land. Matthew 17 24 to 27. Jesus sends Peter to go get money out of the mouth of a fish. Then you have Exodus 8 and 1. God tells Moses, go tell Pharaoh, let my people go. Acts 12 7 to 9. Peter is in jail, and an angel comes and says, get up quickly. Get up quickly. He was bound in chains, and he had the sentries outside. He was behind metal doors, but an angel came, said, get up quickly, follow me. And he was taken out to freedom. You can read that in Acts chapter 12. Then Genesis 26, 1 through 3. Sometimes we want to do something, and we think we're supposed to go something. But if you will listen to God's instructions when he says, do not go, stay where you are. So Genesis 26, 1 through 3, Isaac is there's a famine in the land. Everyone is going down to Egypt. That looks like the most reasonable thing to do, most sensible thing to do. Go down to Egypt so you can go and get the substances of life that you need. God told him, do not go. Told him to sow in the land where he was. It did not sound like he made it any sense whatsoever. But he told him, stay, sow in that land, in that dry land, in that famine. And because he did that, his obedience brought him 100-fold. When everybody left, he stayed behind and followed God's instructions, and he reaped 100-fold. Paul, after going through his conversion, Saul becoming Paul, he stayed on his journey, even though it was going to be a journey of nothing but suffering, but it was suffering for a purpose. Can you hold on and go? Listen, not one single person that God used in the Bible, not one single person was perfect. God called people who had issues. Every one of us has something that we're dealing with, but every one of us is being called. God is, the issues that we have doesn't stop God from calling us to purpose. He gave us purpose before we were formed. He ordained us before we came out our mother's womb. I know I've gone over about 10 minutes, but I'm going to wrap it up real quick for you guys. God is calling you to be used for him. Can you get up and come on now? It's time to get up. It's time to come on. Ask yourself, how many victories have I passed or let pass me by because I wouldn't get up and go, because I didn't answer the call? It's not about getting down on yourself. It's about being aware. When God is calling us and asking us to do something, we must stop looking for the excuses as to why we cannot do something. If God is asking you to do it, He's already equipped you to do it. He's already given you everything you need to do it. You can and you will fulfill purpose. No more looking for excuses. God just wants to do a great work in you. So my question to you today, are you willing to come on now? Will you pick up yourself and will you come on now? Listen, if you haven't gotten your copy of the Daily Word Frame Your Day for Victory in 60 Seconds, go out and get yourself a copy. It's available on Amazon, Barnes & Nobles, frameyourdayforvictory.com, and it is also on indigo.ca. Like always, we always ask, if you found that this is something that is helpful, let somebody know. Share it out with somebody. Come back and listen to it again. And get the scriptures. If you didn't get all the scriptures, come back to it again. Listen to the scriptures. Write down the scriptures. And go and do some study for yourself as well. Because you have to study to show yourself approved. You can't just take what people tell you without you going back and checking in the Word. So listen, I want you guys to have a fantastic rest of day. Have an awesome weekend. Oh, I want to give a shout out to Wanted Worldwide. I want to thank you for this awesome sweatshirt. You can check them out on the web at wantedworldwideinc.com, I think it is. I'll link it down below. And you guys have a wonderful, wonderful, blessed day, and I will see you guys next week. Take care. See you soon. Bye.